The Theory of Moral Sentiments by Adam Smith. Part 2 of Merit and Demerit, or of the Objects of Reward and Punishment, consisting of 3 sections. Section 1 of the Sense of Merit and Demerit. Chapter 3 that where there is no approbation of the conduct of the person who confers the benefit, there is little sympathy with the gratitude of him who receives it, and that, on the contrary, where there is no disapprobation of the motives of the person who does the mischief, there is no sort of sympathy with the resentment of him who suffers it. It is to be observed, however, that how beneficial soever on the one hand, or how hurtful soever on the other, the actions or intentions of the person who acts may have been to the person who is, if I may say so, acted upon, yet if in the one case there appears to have been no propriety in the motives of the agent, if we cannot enter into the affections which influence his conduct, we have little sympathy with the gratitude of the person who receives the benefit; or if in the other case there appears to have been no impropriety of the motives of the agent, on the contrary the affections which influenced his conduct are such as we must necessarily enter into, we can have no sort of sympathy with the resentment of the person who suffers. Little gratitude seems due in the one case, and all sort of resentment seems unjust in the other. The one action seems to merit little reward, the other to deserve no punishment. First I must say, that wherever we cannot sympathize with the affections of the agent, wherever there seems to be no propriety in the motives which influence his conduct, we are less disposed to enter into the gratitude of the person who received the benefit of his action. A small return seems due to that foolish and profuse generosity which confers the greatest benefits from the most trivial motives, and gives an estate to a man merely because his name and surname happen to be the same with those of the giver. Such services do not seem to demand any proportionable recompense. Our contempt for the folly of the agent hinders us from thoroughly entering into the gratitude of the person to whom the good office has been done. His benefactor seems unworthy of it, as when we place ourselves in the situation of the person obliged, we feel that we could conceive no great reverence for such a benefactor, we easily absolve him from a great deal of that submissive veneration and esteem which we think due to a more respectable character, and provided he always treats his weak friend with kindness and humanity, we are willing to excuse him from many attentions and regards which we should demand to a worthier patron. Those princes who have heaped with the generous profusion, wealth, power, and honors, upon their favorites have seldom excited that degree of attachment to their persons which has often been experienced by those who were more frugal of their favors. The well-natured but injudicious prodigality of James I. of Great Britain seems to attach nobody to this person, and that prince, notwithstanding his social and harmless disposition, appears to have lived and died without a friend. The whole gentry and nobility of England exposed their lives and fortunes in the cause of this more frugal and distinguished son, notwithstanding the coldness and distant severity of his ordinary deportment. Secondly, I say, that wherever the conduct of the agent appears to have been entirely directed by motives and affections which we thoroughly enter into and approve of, we can have no sort of sympathy with the resentment of the sufferer, how great soever the mischief which may have been done to him. When two people quarrel, if we take part with, and entirely adopt the resentment of one of them, it is impossible that we should enter into that of the other. Our sympathy with the person whose motives we go along with, and whom therefore we look upon as in the right, cannot but harden us against all fellow feeling with the other, whom we necessarily regard as in the wrong. Whatever this last, therefore, may have suffered, while it is no more than what we ourselves should have wished for him to suffer, while it is no more than what our own sympathetic indignation would have prompted us to inflict upon him, it cannot either displease or provoke us. When an inhumane murderer is brought to the scaffold, though we have some compassion for his misery, we can have no sort of fellow feeling with his resentment. If he should be so absurd as to express any against either his prosecutor or his judge, the natural tendency of their just indignation against so vile a criminal is indeed the most fatal and ruinous to him. But it is impossible that we should be displeased with the tendency of a sentiment, which when we bring the case home to ourselves, we feel that we cannot avoid adopting.